If tomorrow all the things were gone, I'd work for all my life, and I had to start again with just my children and my wife. I thank my lucky stars to be living here today, 'cause the flag still stands for freedom, and they can't take that away.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Central Valley Talk. My name is Ray Johns. I'm your host, and the name of my show is Ray Johns American Patriot. Now, as you know, every week I do a different American Patriot. Usually, I think we've gone from the Revolutionary War all the way up through the Korean War. We haven't done any of the new modern-day wars yet. But I was thinking today that an American Patriot doesn't always have to come, of course, from the military. So I've got a very special person to talk to today. In fact, I'm going to dedicate this show to this very special man. Every once in a while in our lives, somebody comes along who makes us walk a little bit taller, stand a little bit taller, and be a little bit better. That man for me is Eddie Chapa. Eddie Chapa started a baseball team back in 1951, and that team existed until 1996. I played for him for 16 years. 11 of those years I was his captain. And let me tell you, I know of no man in this world, in my life, who has had more of a positive effect on so many people as has Eddie Chapa. He is a wonderful, wonderful man. Not only is he a great baseball coach, but he always has the right attitude. I have never, ever seen him not smiling and not with a positive attitude. Now, I play baseball now in the Men's Adult Baseball League, and like most leagues, they charge a fee to play. I played for him for 16 years. We never had to pay for anything. We have to, in this league, we, of course, and that's the way it should be, we pay for our uniforms, and we pay a fee of $250 to be able to play this great game. And it's nothing. I'm honored to have to pay it. With Eddie Chapa, he got out and talked to the merchants. He picked up cans in his pickup truck. I remember going over to his house one day, and his whole backyard was filled with cans because people realized what he was doing, and they would come by, or they'd call him, and he'd go by. He is so beloved in that community in Madeira that a few years back, when Madeira South High School was built, they dedicated the ballpark to Eddie Chapa. It is Eddie Chapa Field, as it should be. And I just want to say, throughout this show, I'm going to tell a few Eddie Chapa stories. This man has had a great influence on my life as well as other people. I don't know how many people that I know that I have been friends with over the years because of Eddie Chapa. And I love you, Eddie. And this show is your show, buddy. And we're going to tell some Eddie Chapa stories today. Well, back with me is my good buddy Gary Miguel, and he's back today. I missed him last week. I'm sure you did too. And Gary, thanks for coming, buddy.
Thank you, Ray, and thank you for that story.
Okay, and I'm going to ask Gary if he'll tell. He told me one of the funniest stories I have ever heard in my life, and I don't know if he wants to tell it on air. I think it's hilarious, and I think it's just a fun. Do you want to tell that story?
Sure, I'll tell that.
Listen
story.
to this. This is just. I love this. Okay, he was at a game. He was down south at a game. He went to see USC play. Okay, Gary, take on.
Well, over the years, I did a lot of work with ball players, so I went to a lot of games, and I mean all over the country. And after a fashion, you learn a little bit. Of course, with the ball player games, I go. The ball players would get me the tickets, but sometimes I'd go to a game where I wasn't involved with anybody. In this particular game, I'll name it. It was a USC game, and I go down there to the Coliseum. I never did buy tickets in advance, and the game's about starting.
Yeah.
And you kind of wait until, if you have the patience, which you have to do this.
Oh, I bet.
But you wait till it's just about to start. And sometimes I've even waited till the national anthem. So you're waiting for an opportunity because you don't have a ticket to get in the thing yet, right? So anyway, this particular time, I'll just mention this one.
This is great.
I'm walking by, just about to get in the Coliseum. The crowds are out there, and I look over. I still don't have a ticket, but I'll buy one here quickly, know. And so anyway, I'm walking by, and I see this cop, and he has this guy that he's interviewing. Well, the guy, you know,
He's a scalper.
He's a scalper, is what
Yeah.
he is. And the cops are in this book, and he's writing down this information about ready to book this guy because it's illegal. And this guy's standing there, young kid, and he's standing there, man, and he's just feeling horrible about
Oh,
it.
yeah, he's
You can
going to
imagine.
jail. Of course he does.
Right. So I happened to hear a little bit of that, so I run over there, and I said, Leroy, I says, man, thank you. I'm glad I caught you. He says, forget me that ticket.
Don't you love it?
I said, you know, I had to work late today, and I didn't have time, and I appreciate you getting that ticket for me because I asked you if you'd, get me a ticket, and I really appreciate you doing that. Well, that puts the cop completely out of the
absolutely.
deal, right?
Yeah.
And that takes Leroy out of having to go into the jailhouse.
I love this story.
So he turns around, and I get that. I give him $5 though. I had, I should have got it for free, but but my conscience got me a little
Yeah,
bit.
you had to give him something.
So I give him $5. I says, and forget me the ticket.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking a little bit further, and boy, right behind me, I hear this clump, 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 clump. Well, guess what?
It was Leroy.
Yeah, it was Leroy. And he says, "Hey, man," he says, "there's no way $5 for this ticket." He said, "This ticket's right on the 50." Oh, he went on and on, I says, "Man, listen, I'll keep you out of going to jail." Mm-hmm. I says that ought to be worth.
He had
something.
no choice.
I said,
He was lucky.
I said, you ought to be paying me $5, not me paying you.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway,
Absolutely.
That was one of those stories I had in that.
I've been waiting for you to come back. I know Gary wasn't here last week because I wanted to talk to you about something that really upset me. I mean, and because people, you and I have talked about this before, they believe what they see, they believe what they hear, and that's how they're swayed. That's how the social media has influenced just everything, especially since Donald Trump has taken over this great nation. So my question to you, or statement to you, question, let's put it in the form of a question. How in the hell can Barack Obama stand up and take credit now for this economy? I could not believe that he said that to this great nation. I mean, here is a man, ladies and gentlemen, who inherited a $5.5 trillion deficit from Bush and almost quadrupled it. When he left office, he left Donald Trump with $19.2 trillion. Right. He almost tripled it. And yet he's taken credit for this economy, for what's happening in the economy, and it didn't happen during his 8 years. Why is he taking credit for that now? That's my question to you, Gary. I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, because the thinking of a lot of voters, there is no thinking.
No.
And it's basically a lack of common sense and practicality and all that. It's all emotional. So if you voted for Obama twice, and you're of that persuasion, mm-hmm. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not.
That's true. That's a very good statement. Yeah.
And so the point is that the statement is they're not looking for any kind of whether it's like say true or not. They're just looking for something that makes them feel good because it's emotional, and it's not based on that.
That fumed me when he said this. I said, "Are you kidding? How can you possibly keep a straight face, stand in front of the American public, and make a statement? It's a bold-faced lie, is what it is."
Yeah, and he's got accomplices. I mean, which is the media.
Oh well, of course they're on his side.
And so that's all part of the plan, anyway.
Sure it is.
And so for his followers, they see no wrong. It's just like a mother with a child. Mm-hmm. I always use the example of this mother who has this child that goes to the beauty pageant. Mm-hmm. But the child's got a big wart right in the middle of her forehead.
I love your stories, man. They're awesome.
And so the child didn't win. Uh-huh. And she can't believe how in the world why it was that her child did not win. That mother never saw the wart.
No.
You see,
she never saw it.
And so just like Obama.
That's a great analogy because that's exactly what happens with the liberals.
Yeah.
Exactly. They don't see it. They do not. I say all the time. That's what perplexes me. I see it all the time,
Well,
and I
it's
want to say,
frustrating.
why can't you see what's going on in this country right now?
It's
you know?
frustrating, Ray, and the reason is because, and more people are starting to recognize this and starting to see it this
Oh
way.
yeah, you and I've been saying that for months.
But it's a lack of a common sense gene, and it's strictly emotional. It has nothing to do with anything other than
Exactly. Yeah.
And so it's just like it gets back to a lot of things. Things like it's easier to make somebody a fool than to convince them they've been fooled. You know?
Sure.
And that kind of it's a personality deal, and that's why I'm sure you've seen it because we've talked about it. As we've become more knowledgeable since the Trump election and stuff about what's going on. I mean, don't we see the difference between a liberal and somebody who's not a liberal so much easily? I mean, it's like you could almost just look at their face. They got liberal written all over it. You know.
But look at the facts. And you and I talked about this. Let me ask you something, ladies and gentlemen. When's the last time you heard about ISIS?
That's it.
He has done so many things. He's doing everything that he says he's going to do.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, I was at some event. It was a huge event. There were a lot of people there. And this is when ISIS was really strong and doing things. And I couldn't help but think when I walked in there, oh my gosh, I pray to God there's no terrorists here with all these people. This would be a perfect place for those idiots to set off a bomb or something. I've been several places like that since. It doesn't cross my mind because ISIS, we have not heard about these idiots. I'm not saying they're not there. I'm not saying they aren't. But I'll tell you what, their threat has dwindled.
When was the last time you heard about a nuclear bomb coming our way?
That's another one. I mean, Kim Jong-un,
right.
North Korea, and
when's
now
the last time you heard or worried about that?
Yeah, and now he wants to talk to Donald Trump.
Right, because he wants McDonald's hamburger.
Yeah, he wants a McDonald's hamburger. I love it.
But here's the thing, Ray. Let's look at the big picture so that we can feel better about the whole thing. Okay. And the big picture has to do with one word, and that word is trillions. Trillions, but trillions are at stake.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the average person, obviously $1 trillion. I don't even know. I've only seen $1 million once. They were in Las Vegas. They showed me what $1 million looked like. But I mean, who the hell ever even comprehends trillions?
No one does.
Okay, so we're dealing with an abstract. Okay, but it's not an abstract if you happen to be one of those billionaires.
Yeah.
And so what that billionaire is facing is right now with Trump the possibility of him losing trillions. Which means billions among them. So I don't care. Here's the thing that people have such a hard time with. It does not make a difference whether they are Democrat or Republican. They have the same exact interest in mind when it comes to those trillions that are at stake.
We're talking about the elite, right?
We're talking about the elite. We're talking about the Congress. We're talking about the Senate.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the bureaucrats, who run the country, who have been paid off by all this. By who? It's always back to the trillionaires.
Well, of course it is.
All right. Okay, so these billionaires with Trump are losing with all this stuff that he is doing. The money is being transferred from the billionaires to the American people.
As opposed to going to them. I mean, they're used to this special interest money, and they're not going to get it through Donald Trump.
And they're not going to get it, and these companies, these corporations, or whoever owns all this, they're losing.
Sure they are.
Multinational foreigners are losing. I don't care. Okay, now, man, if somebody goes out there, I don't care what it is, and you're starting to lose whatever it is you're losing, you're going to fight like crazy to keep it.
That's why, then that's what they're trying to do.
And that's all you have to understand for us to understand, so we don't get frustrated. Understand they're going to fight to keep it. But there's another underlying thing that's even goes beyond that. There's a real threat out there to those people that's been going on for 40, 50 years, that a lot of them are going to end up in prison. Now, not only are they losing their money,
they may lose a little freedom on top of that.
So when you look at it from that standpoint, you begin to realize that, man, all they're doing is fighting for their lives. it's no different than a cat in a corner. I mean, a cat will take on an elephant if it's taken in a corner, right? Okay, so when you look at the big picture that way, you begin to get a little better understanding as what's going on. Okay, now what is the trillionaires? They have to have weapons in order to fight Trump, right?
Yeah.
So what are their weapons? It's the media.
Sure. And look who it's backed by Soros, of course.
Well, backed by all of them. They're backed by a guy from could be from right here from your district who's afraid that he might be on the block
Well, sure.
himself.
Yeah.
So he's going to vote a certain direction to keep himself out of
Absolutely.
prison. So it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, prison's prison.
Yeah. Well, you said it a couple of weeks ago when you said some of them know what's coming down. They're already fleeing the ship.
They're already fleeing the ship, but see what they're trying to do is, which I would do the same thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're fighting for your life. These people realize that they're in trouble, and that they're going to try to minimize that as much as they can. I'll give you an example. FBI.
Okay.
Members of the FBI.
Kumo and company.
Well, yes, but
But you're talking. I know what you're saying. Go ahead, Garrett.
well, all of a sudden, these guys are asking. 28 people so far has asked to be subpoenaed so they could tell their story.
Of course.
What are they hoping to do by doing that?
Stay out of jail for one thing.
That's
Yeah.
it. Bottom line, stay out of jail. Stay out of jail. Okay, so that's just down the road. But here's a law that I didn't realize and that existed, and I don't know if you do. Maybe you do, but I didn't realize it. If you are a head of a department,
Like, say, the FBI, a major government. Okay.
or it could be out here.
Okay.
A federal department out here downtown. Okay, but you're the
But we're
head.
still talking about government, head of a government department.
You are the head of the department. And you know of fraud that is existing within that department.
Oh, and you don't say anything about it, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah, I did know about that.
Then you're a criminal.
Yeah.
And let me tell you,
They make you an accessory, don't they?
that makes you an accessory. That is against the law. And so there are literally thousands and thousands and thousands of people that know that there's criminality, but they just close it, put a blind eye.
I just now, yesterday, on my iPad, read of the corruption up in the San Francisco Police Department where this guy was, I think, killed or something. Anyway, apparently, during the investigation, they found out that there were a group of cops who had made some statements, some racial statements and stuff, and there were 2 lieutenants who knew about that and didn't do anything about it. Now they're under investigation. Same thing, exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're aware of this. Of course, in the past, with all these crooked people that we've had, the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas and all that, they just let all that go. Why? Because that's how they got where they are.
Exactly. They're not going to tell on anyone.
No, because that's how they got where they are. Okay, then you go into the congressman paid for by the lobbyists. I just read that the other day. I mean, it's in the billions that are being paid. We're in the not too distant past. It was only in the millions.
Oh my gosh!
So this money is going in there, and it is buying influence, but there is illegalities that are going on, and if I'm talking here both Republican and Democrat, you got to keep that part in mind, right? And so the only person that can screw that up for him is Donald Trump. So we're talking,
which is what he's doing.
Which is what he's doing. However, he himself can't do it alone. But I think what he is finding is that there's more corrupt than what he thought was corrupt.
And I just talked to somebody, Gary, not too long ago, and it is just amazing how much corruption there is in this country. And I've got to say, I guess I've been naive in a sense, too, because I didn't realize it was
I was totally naive. I thought...
This is unbelievable how much corruption's in this country.
Well, I was totally naive this much corruption, for sure. I always thought it was maybe isolated this, isolated that.
Exactly. That's
but
exactly
it's not
how
isolated.
I looked at it.
It's right down to the guy next door who's working down here at the office here at the federal building. He happens to be in charge of this particular floor, and he knows there's corruption going on below him, but he doesn't say a thing about it. He's a criminal.
Well, doggone right he is.
So he's scared to death.
Yeah.
And all you got.
And they're going after all those guys too.
Well, I don't know if they're going after him now. I'm getting a little impatient.
Well, I think in due time.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
But here's the thing you want to keep in mind: there is no United States of America without a one-law system for everyone.
Absolutely.
Now, every other country is a two-law system.
Mm-hmm.
And you have two separate segments. You have the communists, which is the Democrats, and then you have the conservatives, which are the Republicans.
Yeah.
And that's what people are going to have to make this choice.
Sure.
Am I a communist or am I that? Communism is a control of a central control.
Sure.
And it's corrupt as all get out.
Always has been.
You
That's
know
why
that-
it doesn't work.
Okay, let's give an example. It's supposed to be communist, supposed to be equal for all people, right? Then why is it that China has more billionaires than the United States? And it's a communist country.
Yeah.
It's because of the corruption.
Well, of course it is.
See, and so this country then, is in the form of government, is no different under a Democrat leadership at all levels, no different than a country like Russia, a country like Cuba, a country like China, a country
Like North Korea. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, any country
Yeah.
that is a communist country, any country like that has that style of government, which is the two-law system, one
Yeah.
for you,
One-
or
one for
two-class
me,
system,
yeah.
right? Okay, so what the public here has to decide is, do we want to keep it a one-class America or not?
Well, like you said, it's only going to work as United States if we have one law.
One law
For everyone.
Yeah,
It's the only way it's gonna work.
That's the biggest difference between the United States and anywhere else.
Sure.
Okay, so that means everybody is equal in the eyes of the law, which
Sure.
also means that there's got to be punishment.
It's exactly what the Constitution says. I mean, it's pretty plain.
Yeah, and
Pretty
so,
simple.
So what the public sees is, like, for instance, the guy takes a picture of a submarine, goes to jail for a year. Hillary Clinton, with the top most secrets in the United States, she's running around giggling.
Oh, yeah.
You see, so
Yeah.
and the public sees that and they lose confidence.
Well, sure.
You know, and they lose
Perfect
interest.
example.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
And people lose interest.
Yeah.
And so what I'm seeing or thinking is we're coming right into this 50 days before the election. And Trump now has 50 days. Now his name's not on the ballot, but in reality it is on every candidate that's a Republican. You know, that he needs Republicans, right? Or else we're going to be back to where we're heading down that handcart to Venezuela again.
Yeah.
You see? And he knows that. Well, what he's been doing is replacing judges like crazy.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
it did him no good to go and convict this person. Well, how
And
come
then
he-
they turn him loose.
Yeah, they're
and then
going to turn him loose. So he said,
turn him
no, I
loose.
got to wait till I know that he's not going to be turned loose or she's not going to be turned loose. Okay, we're looking at the big picture here now, okay? Because you're going to see a bombardment by the press to make this thing look like the last time when Trump was running, like Trump has no chance of winning.
Oh, absolutely, we're going to see this.
That's do two things. That's to discourage the Republicans going down to vote because there's no use doing it, and it's
Didn't work last time, did it?
Well, it's not going to work this time.
No.
Okay, and then you have the Democrats being re-energized and thinking that, hey, you know, looks like we got a chance. In fact, Drudge just came out and said there's 60 seats at the House and Senate that's going to be replace the Republican and have Democrat. Now he's being paid
Of course.
big time.
Absolutely.
You know, to put that kind of stuff. So you're going
And
to have
people buy it. That's the sad part, Gary.
Well,
they buy it.
Let's
you
ask
know?
about how many buy it, who buys it, and who doesn't buy it. Do you, in your little circle, have you seen anybody yet that said they would not vote for Trump?
No, not in my circle.
Well, no, not mine either. Then all of a sudden you start looking at other circles, and everybody says the same thing.
Yeah.
So how big is the circle?
Good point.
And the point is, it's just like, remember when I said that Trump was going to win, and right at the end it looked like they thought
That
for
prediction
sure.
was made on this show 3 months prior to the election, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, let's
Good,
put it
by the
this way: I predict the same thing this time.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
However, if I lose this time, I'm 50-50.
At least you won once.
I won
huh?
one.
Gary, before we take a break, I just want to tell the audience, and it's been real discouraging about the show. I am going to be meeting with some people on Monday. We are going to do our dedication to women. I have no idea when. I wish I could give everybody a date, but when we do, it is going to be a great show dedicated to women. So we are going to do that, and we're going to do it as soon as possible, as soon as we get all the kinks ironed out. You know, when we decided to do this, and naive me, I thought, oh, gosh, we'll just go ahead and do it. I didn't realize there were some legalities and there was some problems with satellite and transferring and doing all this stuff. We have a great director here, Mike, who I'm looking at him right now, and he's going to be a big plus. This guy does everything. He's brilliant. He's a brilliant kid. I call him a kid because he's real young, and he's smart, and he does just everything. He's always got everything here ready for Gary and I, and he's going to be a big plus in putting this thing together, and we're going to do it. We're going to put it together. So we're going to take a little break here. We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen, in like 2 and 2.
To be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Okay, I'm back. I'm going to tell a little Eddie Chopper joke again. Eddie, I hope you're watching because this is about you, buddy. But back, years ago, Ken Jones and I had a new Corvette. I'd go by and I'd pick up Ken and we'd go to the games. Well, Ken liked to stop in Merced and buy chicken livers, and here we're late for the game. And I said, we don't have time to stop for chicken livers. So he says, I want chicken livers. So, of course, we stopped. And we're going to the game. Well, Ken and I were two of the best hitters on the team at this time. And we're on the way to the game. And we get to we weren't sure where the exit was. It was down by Lodi someplace. I can't remember where we were playing, but it was somewhere down there around Modesto. And we're driving along, and we look up, and here's Eddie Chopper out on the freeway with a sign that said Ray and Ken. That's it. You remember that, Eddie? I'm sure he does. We're going to tell some Eddie Chopper stuff today. That was funny, though. Anyway.
Yeah, that was a good.
This guy was I hope someday you get a chance to meet this man,
Yeah, me
because
too.
you will like
I've
him.
heard the name, of course.
Yeah, he's well known. I mean, he made the Madeira Merchants well known, and he, like I said, I mean, they named the baseball stadium after this guy. I was so honored to get up and tell these people.
Yeah, I'd be an honor to meet the guy.
That this is a man that I've loved, revered, and respected for well over 30 years. And my mother said something prior to her death about Eddie Chopper. Her and I were fishing on the side of a lake, and somehow Eddie's name always come up. I think it was a Saturday, and we were playing baseball the next day, and I was still playing for him. And she said, I've noticed something about Eddie Chopper. Of all the people I know, I've never, ever heard anybody say anything negative about him. And she said, and she looked at me and she laughed. She said, they certainly couldn't say that about me and you, which was very true. Eddie's the only person I know that's like that. God bless you, Eddie. This is about you, buddy. This is about you. All right, Gary.
Yeah, great story.
Gary, thank you. I got a bunch of them, and especially about this wonderful man. Anyway, Gary was talking to me about some things, and very vital things that I want you to listen to. I'm going to turn it over to him. I'm going to let him tell you. I think he will probably answer any questions that you might. So we'll sit back. We'll listen to Gary. He's got some good stuff to tell you.
Yeah, what I want to make sure and cover is the fact that expect until the election, which is the midterm, which is the next, call it 50 days, expect a tremendous amount of constant, nonstop, 24/7, negative out of the media.
Oh, absolutely. I do already.
Because there is trillions at stake.
Sure.
And we have to understand
they're fighting for their last breath is what they're doing.
And they're also, there's a lot of those same people that are also fighting for staying out of prison.
Well, sure.
Now let's put this in perspective a little bit. Obama wanted to do away with Gitmo. Okay, Trump comes along, and what does he do? Gitmo at the time, which I didn't know until recent, but anyway, Gitmo at the time had a capacity of 750 people. Okay, now let's look at the history. Gitmo was started in around 1890 in the Spanish-American War, and that was to put people that were treason and this kind of stuff. That was the purpose of Gitmo at that time.
Yeah.
Now we run the clock forward. It became a purpose of putting foreign terrorists and this kind of thing, right? Now then also it also can include domestic terrorists and seditionists. Okay, so let's run the clock and do a little thinking on our own. Let's all do that and say, let's think about it. Let's see, Obama wants to get rid of it. Trump expanded it from 750 capacity to a present capacity right now of 13,000.
Is that right, Gary? I didn't know there was that many. That's awesome, brother.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So, who goes to that prison? or who could possibly go. That would be a military tribunal.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens with it when a country becomes corrupt, its courts become corrupt, they are no longer a reliable judiciary system.
No,
which
not
is
at
where
all.
we're at.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the
That's why he's, like you said, he's in a hurry and pointing to all these judges, getting these judges in place,
Right.
so that when he does make a move, it'll stick.
right. It'll stick, and there will be those that will be subject to a military tribunal instead of a domestic court.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's Gitmo, and there's room for that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you happen to be a guy, let's get back to that, and you're here in Fresno, and it's been going along. I mean, it's part of the deal. You then are in charge of a department down here at the federal building,
Mm-hmm.
but there's corruption and briberies going on among some of your employees, and you may have been in yourself at one time, but let's assume you weren't.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you know about it.
Yeah, I'm aware
And
of
the
it.
reason why you don't say anything about it because you don't want to stir the pot.
Sure.
And the other reason you don't want to do anything is because ever since you worked there, that's the way it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said, I'm just going along with it. And then all of a sudden you start hearing about people going to Gitmo because of a law. And that law is if you know that there is corruption and fraud and so forth inside of your department and you don't do anything about
As
it.
guilty as they are.
Okay, now let's go take it one step. We're going to have fun with this one.
Okay.
All right. So do you agree that in the last 6 months, there's been more and more information of a corrupt FBI?
Absolutely.
Have you agreed that there has been more and more exposure as to a corrupt Department of Justice?
Absolutely. The DOJ is just as crooked as the FBI.
Okay, and that's
If not
because
more.
of information that's coming out.
Yeah.
Because of some of the people in it.
Mm-hmm.
And, and it's 12, then it's 20, and then so forth. But anyway, you become more aware of it. Even though you're just a casual observer, you're still aware of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, now then you ask yourself, who's in charge? Who's the Attorney General?
You're talking about Margaret Lynch or Lynch, whatever her name is? Yeah.
She was.
Was, not now, but I mean, yeah.
But who is now?
Well, God, my
Sessions.
yeah, Sessions. I couldn't come up with his name in time, yeah.
Okay, then ask me a question. Does Sessions know anything less than Lynch about what's going on in her department?
Sessions knows exactly what's going on.
Sessions is a Gitmo candidate,
Yeah.
is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, he knows exactly
So
what's going on.
So
he
then,
is a
why
Gitmo
is it that
candidate.
all these people go before Congress with evidence that they're corrupt and crooked, including Comey and all the rest?
Mm-hmm.
Why does Sessions never do a thing about it?
Because he's
Because-
a part of the thing.
because he's a part of the deal.
The whole thing.
Yeah. So he goes against Trump.
Mm-hmm. And it's just a matter of time for him. I know people are saying, why isn't he? Well, Trump is doing it at his pace because he knows exactly what he's doing.
One thing about Sessions, he is doing his job. What he promised. This, or he said this. He recused himself, so
Yeah.
that means he doesn't have to do anything.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that. He did recuse.
Right. So
Yeah.
he says, "Well, I'm doing my job. I'm doing nothing."
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I said I was going to do was nothing. I said I was going to recuse myself.
Yeah.
So I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So there's
The only thing he could do. That was the only thing he
So
could
let's go back to the fact that we have to understand just very basic. This country has been influenced, has been, and the people paid the price. The jobs of Americans left for the last 40, 50 years. Factories, 60,000 factories shut down, Ray.
Yeah.
Come on. And does that make sense that 60,000 factories in America should be shut down, but how many opened in China?
A whole bunch of them.
Because of
Yeah.
who got the money.
Well, of course.
Because these people from here went over there, opened factories and all that, and got slave labor like Nike and all the rest of
Sure.
these.
Sure.
And they become billionaires.
Yeah.
Because of doing that. Now all of a sudden Trump comes along and says, no, we're going to give the American workers the jobs, not you people over in China.
It doesn't take too much.
Who was paying for the Chinese to be where they got? It was the taxpayer out here.
Oh my gosh! It doesn't take a hell of a lot. I mean, to figure out that if you can make a shirt for $quarter and sell it for $10, you're going to get rich. You know?
That's true.
Hey.
Who can't? But here's at what expense? It has to be an expense. But who was the expense? The expense was the American worker.
Absolutely, they're the ones that were hurting.
Of course. So now we have the American worker. Trump's turning this around and saying Americans first, America first. So what does he do? He says, we're going to stop all that, and we're going to bring that all back here, and it's going to be manufactured right here in America by Americans. And who's going to get the pay? The Americans. Who's going to make the money? The Americans.
I love this. Let me tell you something that happened at the beginning of my baseball season this year. We get every coach. I'm a coach. I play too, and I'm a coach. We get 12 dozen baseballs. We get a whole bunch of them, And the day that I brought them home, it's a big, huge box I can hardly lift, and I sit them down in my living room, and I think I got myself a cup of coffee, and I was sitting on the couch, and I looked at the box that they came in. And they had been shipped from a company in Los Angeles. And then at the bottom, in probably 1-inch letters, it said, made in China. Now, I'm an All-American, okay? And baseball is a sport that I've played since thanks to my dad, since I was 6 years old. And it did something to me to think of, we're buying baseballs to be played in America that are made in China. That shook me up. It really did.
Well, and it should shake every American.
Doggone right it should.
Okay, now let's say it's not going to shake up. It's not going to shake up 20 to 30% of the diehard people who are just.
Of course not, because they're benefiting from it.
Well, they're just mind dumb.
Yeah.
There's a reason a liberal is called a libtard. That's not by accident.
I love that term. I really do.
Well, I hear it more and more, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So kind of what I think, what we really end up with here, and Trump timing is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he knows.
He's already proved that. He's perfect at it.
And he knows that there was no sense in convicting these people if they're all going to get let loose.
Yeah.
So he's waiting, but he's also
Putting
waiting
those
for the
judges
greatest,
in place, yeah.
Well, for the greatest impact.
Sure.
And he's waiting because he knows how the length of a mind as far as memory, 3 days later you forget all about it.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to push this right up to the end, and then he's going to come up with some massive indictments, which is going to affect a tremendous amount of people. Now, here's where he's kind of under a little bit of a problem. He needs Republicans.
Yeah.
Well, there are just as many Republicans that are guilty as there is Democrats. Mm-hmm. So all of a sudden, he's needing Republicans in the Congress and the Senate, and they're all in jail now. That's not doing him any good. Mm-hmm. So he has to figure this out to where he still has Republicans left. You see?
Yeah.
Because they're just as many Republicans that are as crooked as a dog's hind leg as there is Democrats.
Yeah, I agree.
As far as politicians go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as you and people go, I think it's been obvious to me for a number of years. All you have to do is be in business, and you'll find out who you'd rather do business with and not do business with.
Absolutely.
And you've been through that experience.
Yeah, absolutely, more than once.
Right. So let's think about this then. Let's kind of relax a little bit, but let's not forget one thing we have to be. We have to be vigilant, mm-hmm. And the most important thing we have to do is vote.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I don't care if the day before you sit there and says, the Republicans are going to lose 60 people in the House, and it's in the headline of every newspaper.
Don't buy that. Yep. Please do not buy that. That's false media.
Yep.
Do not buy that.
Yep.
They tried that before.
Right.
They had so many people convinced that Hillary Clinton was going to be. And I told this story before. I had gotten sick. I was in the hospital, and everybody was calling me up. All my friends. I must have got 50 calls that night and saying, "Oh, Ray, it does not look good for Donald Trump. It doesn't." I ended up going to bed. I'm already sick, and I'm in the hospital. You couldn't be any worse, and so I went to bed. I felt terrible. 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 nurses walk into my room at St. Agnes. I had a private room there, and 3 nurses walk in, and I'm teasing them. I said, "Oh, you came up to wake me up to give me a sleeping pill or something," and they said, "No, we came in to tell you that your candidate won." I said, "Trump won?" And they started laughing. I thought they were teasing me. They said, "Turn on the television." And they turned the TV on for me, and sure enough, he won. And I said, "You know what? I'm cured. Give me my clothes. I'm going home." I was so happy about that.
Well, the thing is, we talked about earlier, of course, Obama saying taking credit for all this, right? Mm-hmm. He's got to do that because he knows he is a candidate for Gitmo.
Oh, heck yeah.
Hillary knows she's a candidate
Absolutely.
for Gitmo. So they're fighting for their life.
Yeah.
So Obama is going to come out with that to put it in the public's mind. Well, my God, why am I What are we doing, Obama? He's the one that made it possible for us to do all this.
Absolutely, because they buy everything that they read and hear anyway, so they're going to say,
so
wow,
what
man, what's
happens
going
is,
on with this?
I mean, if I
Either
was...
that or they're going to pull the race card. They'll pull the race card in a
they're going
minute.
to pull the race card. That's
Yeah.
coming. You already know
That's
that.
without
But
a doubt.
that's kind of old, getting old, but nevertheless...
They'll still pull it.
Still pull it. Okay, now think about this. And I think this will make you feel more at ease. If you were Obama, you've been doing the same exact thing.
Well, heck yeah, you're fighting for your life.
Exactly.
You know, I got to tell you, in Gary's analogy the other day, I mean, about the cat, is very true. I'm coming home one time, and this is I got to tell you, I love telling these stories. And I lived at the end of 6 miles of dirt road, you know, in Corsico. I mean, it's all dirt road up to my house. And when the road ends, my house starts. Go down, there's my barn. Go up, there's my house. I'm about halfway. I'm about 3 miles on that dirt road, and I've got two big, beautiful Labradors that all both weighed over 100 pounds. Well, one of them, Burrhead, because his head's like this, we called him, my mother named him Burrhead, and he's out in the middle of a field with his butt up and his head stuck in a hollow log, right? And first of all, I'm driving my Corvette. I'm not about to put him in my Corvette, but I'm thinking I'm going to have to go out and get this dog and walk him the 3 miles home because I'm not going to put him in the car. He's got all this grass over, and then come back and get my car, right?
Right.
And so I keep calling. He'd take a couple of steps. So I thought, what is he doing? So I go out and I yank him back, and there's a rabbit in there. And I mean a cottontail, not a big rabbit.
Right.
And he's like this. The rabbit's like this. He's ready to, like you said, he's ready to fight because he has no choice. And that's where we are with these liberals right now.
That's where we are with the liberals right now. So
they have no choice.
So we're going to have, if you are a communist style, because you don't know any better maybe or something. But, before I even get into that, they think communism is so wonderful. You know that the poorest people and most poverty is always a socialist communist country.
It's been proven over the years.
Because it starts here and you become poorer.
Yeah.
Everybody gets poorer. It's not, there's no excellence in communism.
Yeah.
There's no rise to excellence.
No.
There is in capitalism.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
In any country with capitalism, sure they have poor people.
Yeah.
Every country. But how many more? There's more with a socialist communist country. So then if I want less, I better be a capitalist country.
Yeah.
That's my point.
But at least with the capitalist, you've got a prayer, you got a shot.
Well, of course. There's downward movement instead of upward movement. Okay. Now, what you want to keep in mind though in this big thing, so to keep you from getting too frustrated, is that there will be a point where there's going to be indictments come down, but it has to be at the right time. Okay. And the main cog to this, as far as from a government employee and government people, deep state, whatever you want to call it, swamp, is Obama and Hillary. They're those two are the most culpable. And then it goes down from there.
Yeah.
So you start down here and you get these people singing like canaries.
Yeah.
And they're doing it right now. I mean, like I said, there's 28 FBI asking to be subpoenaed so they could tell their story.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to get caught in that.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's gone on all over the United States. Not just Washington, D.C. It's every federal department everywhere.
Yeah.
And so is the FBI, should it be disbanded and done away with? I think so. And start over.
I agree.
Should the CIA, of course.
Yeah.
I can go on with that.
Sure.
But the biggest thing that needs to be done away with is FISA court.
Absolutely.
And that's the one that can go after every American without any evidence.
Yeah.
Other than the concocted evidence.
Yeah.
It's a type of a court to where you can make up the evidence and it gets accepted by the FISA court, even though and there was no chance for a trial.
Yeah.
So when you get into that, and that's the biggest threat to Americans, is now they're getting into where they now can take and weaponize the FBI, weaponize the DOJ, the Department of Justice, weaponize the CIA against Americans.
Yeah.
And that is not the way it's supposed to be.
No,
you
not
know.
at all.
I mean, and it could be people that are just innocent, and we've talked about that.
Yeah, we have.
I want to get rid of Ray's mobile deal out there. All I do is call ISIS and we make up the evidence. We pay off the FBI guy to make up the evidence, and he goes and gets Ray, and Ray's got no...
Yeah. Not only have I lost my business, I'm headed for Gitmo.
No, you go to Gitmo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know.
and so there's a lot at stake here, and people have to realize, but they have to learn to overlook overlook that gross amount of propaganda that they're going to be hearing now over the next 60 days, okay? And they have to take and put that in perspective. And they said, well, it gets down to local. Just understand your local. Well, I love this gal. She's so this and that. But she's an enemy. Why? Is because she's bought off. And she's going to go back there, and she is not going to be in your best interest. That's all there is to it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I don't care how sweet she is, how much she gives to the
it doesn't matter. You're right.
They're enemies.
Yeah.
And once you understand that and appreciate that, then you got to go with the people who are going to bring this country back to a one-law system, to a free society, and with the great economic opportunity that we are seeing that evidence. Why would you want to stop it?
Yeah.
Why would you want to vote somebody that would stop the amount of economy that's benefiting America now? I just seen, again, the reports are always up. The first time in 45 years, as far as, say, unemployment.
And among minorities,
right?
African American and Hispanic. And it hadn't been 40 years since it's been 40 years at least, or 50 probably.
Ever.
Yeah, if ever.
And so if I happen to be a minority or a minority, of all people, I should be hoping that we continue on like we're doing.
Absolutely.
So I got to go and vote for what is it that keeps it going the way it's going, not the other way around,
Absolutely.
not stopping what's going on. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
There should not be not one minority vote for anything but Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, there is no common sense there. Okay.
It's kind of on the wall.
Yeah, so what you got to look at, though, is say to yourself, there's probably 20 to 30% of what I call brain dead, or they don't have that. And it doesn't matter if they're, Gary, I talked to this professor, fine. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because he's just as big a dunce as the next guy.
It doesn't matter that he's a professor.
That doesn't. I mean, if you really start talking with liberals, both uneducated liberals, we'll call them uneducated, and you talk to one that is highly educated, you'll find that there is no difference.
Yeah.
Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, one has a better vocabulary.
Oh, that's about it. But
that's
you're
the
right.
end of it.
You're right.
But there's no difference in terms of common sense.
Yeah.
I have a landlord that I've had forever. And I don't, but we got a special deal. Everybody should be like that. This guy, when I first met him, this is like 17 years ago, and he is a he was an ultra liberal from the Bay Area type thing.
Oh my
right?
goodness.
So I hadn't seen him in a long time. Because I don't bother him, he doesn't bother me. I just pay the rent. And so this went on. Well, finally, he has to put a roof on this building, and so he says, "I got to come down there." But he's still in the Bay Area, and I'm thinking, "Oh my God, this guy! I got to be careful what I say because I don't want to say piss him off, and then all of a sudden my rent goes up."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had some Trump signs. So I said, "I better put those away."
Yeah.
So I put those away. The guy still lives in the Bay Area, still works for the government, and so I'm assuming is still liberal.
Oh boy!
Did he come down there, and my God, the guy had made a 180-degree turn.
Don't you love it?
Don't you just love it?
I do love
and he's going on, and I said, well, I've got some relatives that are like that too, but they never say it because they're afraid to say it. So they're under the...
Like the big guy told you that came out of the gym that day.
Exactly. Exact same idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'm thinking, oh, my God, So he has to go to the bathroom, and he's in the bathroom. I went and got my Trump signs and put them back up again.
Great move, buddy. Great move.
He come out of there, he looked at that, and he said, oh, wow. He said, why'd you take those down? And I told him, He says, oh, no. He says, I'd seen the light. And there's all these walkaways.
Yeah.
And those people are being zippered. Their mouths are being zippered because of these big companies like Google and Facebook and so forth. They're discriminating against you if you happen to be a Trumper.
Yeah.
If you happen to be for freedom, they discriminate. I don't see how in the world anybody that has any inkling or cherishing or whatever of freedom, why would you do something against that?
it just doesn't make it. Well, anyway, we've said this before. It makes no sense at all.
Right.
You know, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting toward the end of the show like we do every time Gary comes. Gary has so much great information that the time just flies by. Before I close and talk to Gary, I want to go back to Eddie. And Eddie, man, I love you, buddy. And I want to say Eddie's a little under the weather. And so I want you to know I'm coming to see you hopefully tomorrow with a bunch of people. We're going to hopefully a bunch of ball players will show up at your house tomorrow, and we'll get a chance to talk to you. But I want to thank you. I want to thank you because knowing you the past 30 years has made me a much better person. I stand a little bit taller. I walk a little bit more erect. And I'm a little bit more confident because of Eddie Chapa. I love you. You have influenced so many people. Because of you, I know a ton of great people, you know, starting Ken Jones, Bob Gretz, Johnny Chapa, Eddie Chapa, just a whole bunch of great ball players, Steve Sidoti, just a bunch of great people, Norman Brazil, a bunch of wonderful people that are lifelong friends because of you. And I thank you for that. And it's something that I can't repay you because it's priceless. I love you, buddy. So, Gary, you going to come back and see us next week? You think you'll have time?
Yeah, I think so.
This guy's so busy, you never know. Let's try and get you back.
The thing is that now that I've been introduced to Eddie Chapa, I feel the same way now.
Oh gosh, you would have to. Oh, man, I hope someday you get to meet him.
Yeah, I do too. I think, my God, especially with baseball. I mean, I can.
Just a wonderful. He is Mr. Baseball.
You know.
He is Mr. Baseball. Anyway. Every week I like to close my show by telling you, and I got to tell you a little quick story. This is so precious to me. You know, we've been asking people to go up and shake hands with the policeman and tell them how much we appreciate what they do because they have a thankless job. And I've gotten so many friends. I've got so many friends that are into law enforcement, and they're all wonderful people with wives and children like the rest of the people. And they're wonderful, wonderful people. Yeah, and so I do it myself. And yesterday, there was a lady sitting in a car, and this is the second time this has happened to me, and it was really great. And it was at Walmart, and I'm walking over, and she rolls the window down, and I told her how much we appreciate. She got out of the car and hugged me, and it always cracks me up that here's this little blonde lady who looks like she shouldn't even be a policeman, and she's hugging this big black guy. She's hugging me, and she says, "You don't know how much I appreciate that," you know.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
It's priceless. It's absolutely priceless. And like Gary said, it makes you feel so good that you're giving them a compliment because, doggone it, they deserve it.
Well, Ray, just think about this. Think about what if everybody that had a show, I don't care if it was a liberal show or a conservative
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
What if everybody ended their show exactly the way you end your show in America? Think of the influence that would be. Because I'm noticing that people are more kinder now.
They are.
I was walking in a store the other day. Mm-hmm. It's hotter than heck.
Yeah.
And this guy says, "Hey," and I turned around. He's bringing his cart up. Mm-hmm. Most of the people just leave by the cart.
Yeah.
He's bringing this cart up, and it was a black guy, about my age. Mm-hmm. And he's bringing up. He says, "Hey, you need a cart?" And he comes over and gives me. I said, "Well, I guarantee he wouldn't have done that a year ago."
No.
But see, there's more of that kind of a.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary, very much.
But think about this: what if I'm including Hannity, including Lou Dobbs, if every one of those shows at the end of their show said exactly what you say at the end of your show? Do you imagine what an influence that would be on America?
Well, I would hope so.
Oh, incredible! They put you.
I'm ready to go wherever they want to take me.
All right, Ray.
It's always a pleasure having Gary. He is just my favorite guest. And, you know, the man is just full of, and I keep saying this, and I apologize to you because we didn't do it. We get to going, and I tell you, we just can't stop. But I have a list of, Gary sends me unbelievable emails. And I want to do a show from some of the stuff. I want to go back even. And I promise you next week we're going to do some of those because you have got to see some of the things that this man sends me. It is phenomenal. I read every single thing he said. You get my response the other day, by the way?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Because he sends me great stuff. It's just wonderful stuff. Anyway, until we meet next Friday at 3 o'clock, heaven's blessings.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston, and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American.